Hey, everybody. Welcome into UFO Fantasy Football. I'm Jackson. That's Vin. And today we are going to talk about our Supernova players or breakouts, as the common people like to say.
Yes.
So, Supernovas are players that have kind of already established themselves. Maybe not fully. A couple guys in here haven't. But we think they'll finish probably within top 12 or top 3 if they're kind of already going in the top 12.
Mm-hmm.
Just they will definitely, or we think they will definitely outperform their ADP.
Yeah. A supernova is a star that is ready to explode. So that's how I approach my guys that I picked.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, I think that was a good call.
Yeah, why don't you start it off then?
Okay. I'll go with Lamarvelous here.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so Lamar Jackson would be my pick here. So he's going ADP's like 4 to 6 range,
Yeah.
kind of
Fourth or fifth usually I see.
Yeah. And I think he's got a path to be a top 2 quarterback this year if everything goes right. Obviously, last year was a horrible year for him. But the whole Ravens team was plagued with injuries. He didn't have a great year. It was just kind of messy. But he's in a contract year now. I think he's like trying to negotiate his own contract. So he's definitely trying to prove himself again to make sure that he gets paid. And in my projection here, assuming he plays a full season, and is not injured, of course, from last year, I have him easily as like my fourth guy overall. And that's with only I have 22 passing touchdowns. If he in 2019 he had 36 passing touchdowns. Oof. In 2020 he had 26, both in 15 games played. Okay, so if he jumps to 26 passing touchdowns, which is not that unreasonable in 17 games, he leaps over Herbert in my projections, and he's just behind Josh Allen in those projections. Again, that's getting 1,000 yards on the ground, which sounds outrageous for a quarterback, but that's what he's been doing in 19 and 20. I think Bateman, who I will talk about later, is ready to step up as well into that Hollywood Brown plus mode. Still got Mark Andrews there, and I think the Ravens are going to have just an overall better year than they had last year, and I think Lamar is going to be a big reason for that. So he's my guy.
All right. My guy is Jalen Hurts, going as the 8th quarterback, 68th overall in Fantasy Pros' half PPR standings. I love Jalen Hurts this year. He's got that rushing upside as well. Maybe not as much as Lamar, but I think he could. I mean, he kind of snagged most of the goal line touches last year from a bunch of the running backs there. So he might do it again. And he got A.J. Brown now. Just going to enforce the wide receiver core there. Got Dallas Goedert still too. And when you don't have to rely on Jalen Reagor and you get A.J. Brown instead, I think that's a big upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. How about some running backs here?
Yes. So I have DeAndre Swift as my first guy here. ADP is probably in that 8 to 10 range for running backs, right?
Yep. I got him at 10 and half PPR, probably goes up in full PPR.
Yeah, I think he's 8 in full PPR. So, and a lot of my projections that I've referenced, I've been using full PPR just as a disclaimer here. But he did get a lot of receiving yards, I think a lot more than people expected last year. The Lions actually, according to Pro Football Focus, have the 3rd highest ranked offensive line this year as well.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I think DeAndre Swift, he's young, but he's had a couple years under his belt now, and I think the talent is obviously there. I think we're just expecting and hoping him to get a few more touches on the ground than he has been in the last couple of years. And if that's the case, which is what I expect it to be, I think he could ascend into a top 5 finish, to be honest, from a running back.
I could definitely see that.
So,
my only gripe with him is that he misses a game or two every year, but that's not really that big of a deal. So if he does play a full season, I mean, that even more power to him.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm banking on. And I think he'll still, if he can only miss a game or two, I'm okay with it, but I think he's got a lot of upside, and he just seems like a player that's his talent is just ready. He's ready to break out.
Yeah, I totally agree. My first running back is going to be Travis Etienne. He's going as the 24th running back right now, so bottom end running back 2. I think he'll at least be a running back 2. He could be 1 if Jacksonville kind of clicks this year, which probably won't, but it's going to be better than last year with Urban Meyer. And, Etienne, he got hurt in preseason last year, so we didn't really get to see him, but he's reunited with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has thrown, I think, possibly the most passes to Travis Etienne in his career. I could be wrong, but it's something insane like that. It's just, I think he's going to get some pretty good PPR work if we're talking PPR scoring. He's definitely a little lower for me in standard, but I don't play standard, so it's fine. I just think his upside is pretty good. I think he's going to have a solid floor because James Robinson, he's hurt. He's going to, if he plays, he's going to be coming off the Achilles, I believe, which we saw Cam Akers do it. It's probably not going to be pretty. So it should be Etienne. Yeah,
I like it. My next guy is a little bit higher on the ADP list with Aaron Jones. So obviously he's splitting carries with A.J. Dillon, which I don't love in the first place. But I do like both of these guys going in this year. But Aaron Jones, I feel like has, the Packers need playmakers. And I don't think the Packers go from, being 15-2 or whatever they were the last couple of years to just falling completely, to last place or anything like that after losing Devontae Adams. So I think they're going to utilize Aaron Jones in the passing game even more than they have previously. The Packers have like 248 vacated targets from last year, which is third most. And again, they didn't really sign anybody. I mean, a little, they got some guys here and there, but no, number 1 receivers or anything like that. So I'm banking on Aaron Jones filling some of that void and still getting those carries, and scoring some of those touchdowns. So he's my guy that I think could, again, finish in the top 5, especially in PPR formats.
Yeah, I totally agree. I see your Aaron Jones and I raise you 1 A.J. Dillon. I mean, it's kind of the exact same stuff you just said. It's just, I think without so many good receivers, I think Aaron Jones honestly might go outside sometimes as like a receiver, and I think A.J. Dillon will be the back, and I think they're both going to get some pretty good work. I'd imagine Aaron Jones gets more. He's the starter. He's the established guy, but A.J. Dillon had some spurts last year, and I got some very high upside for him this year, I think, and he's going as a running back 26. So
right. I could see him having like a Nick Chubb type year, where he doesn't get as many receptions, but he just is dominant on the ground.
Yeah, it could be like Chubb and Hunt, and they kind of always finish as both top 24 guys.
Yeah,
almost always if they're healthy.
All
right, let's pivot to a wide receiver here. Who's your first guy?
My guy is CeeDee Lamb. So again, this is Supernova, so it's a star that is going to explode. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb, ADP wise, he's still top 10 receiver already. But I mean, I think there's a path for him being a top 3 receiver when the season's done, finishing. Obviously, Amari Cooper's gone. Cowboys have 181 vacated targets. 44% of those inside the 10-yard line are gone. And it's not just the numbers. You can tell that he's talented, ascending talent with a good quarterback. They're going to want to get him the ball. And I think he had like 6 touchdowns last year or something like that. So definitely due for some progression in the touchdown department. So I could see him getting double-digit touchdowns for sure, and just being that main number 1. So I like Lamb being finishing possibly as a top 3 wide receiver PPR formats this year.
I could totally see it. I think my crazy thought he's going to be wide receiver 2 behind Justin Jefferson. I think those are going to be the top 2.
Over Cup. Wow. Okay. That's why I kept saying top 3, because I was like, I don't know if I had a Cup. But
all right, my first wide receiver is going to be Michael Pittman. We both love him.
Love Pittman. Yeah,
he's my guy.
My guy.
Obviously, he's like the Colts' only option at wide receiver. There's Alec Pierce. There's
is T.Y. still there?
No,
I mean,
I don't think so. Paris Campbell is the other guy I was thinking of.
Yeah,
and I no hope for him. Maybe some for Alec Pierce. But if Alec Pierce is anything good, I think it'll only help Michael Pittman to draw some defenders away from him. He got the quarterback upgrade from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, and maybe you don't think that's that big of an upgrade, but I do. Sometimes Carson Wentz would just try to like extend a play and it just wouldn't work. I think Matt Ryan's gonna be smarter with it, and I think he'll be more successful at just extending drives and getting Pittman more opportunities. And he's going at this is a wide receiver 16 right now in half PPR. I think for sure he's going to end up as a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, another candidate for TD progression there. His touchdown total from last year is way lower than it should have been. So, all
right, who's your second guy?
I've got Darnell Mooney for the Chicago Bears there. We talked about a little bit with Cole Kmet in the last video, but a lot of vacated targets for the Bears as well. 50% of the targets inside the 10 have been vacated from the prior year. And I kind of view him as like maybe a young Tyreek Hill kind of in the making. So that's how I view him. I think with Allen Robinson gone, he's definitely their main guy. Another year of building rapport with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is going to be better than he was last year, having a season under his belt. I'm expecting him to be, and I think Mooney's going to be the main beneficiary of that. I see, over 90 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and just playmaking from Mooney. I think he's going to be like their main guy there. So I'm all in on Mooney. I have him a lot higher than ADP, so I try to scoop him up whenever I can in these drafts, and he usually falls to me in like that. I think like 5th round range almost is where he's going.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
All right, my next receiver is going to be the one and only Mike Evans. We touched on the Tampa Bay offense in the last video as well. He's definitely the main guy there. His only other competition to start is going to be Russell Gage, really. And Russell Gage, I think he's going to do great, but I think he's no Mike Evans. Mike Evans just dominant wide receiver 1, and there were some games he would disappear for, but then he would get 2 catches and 2 touchdowns and be a viable wide receiver 1. And it's just like I just think his floor is so high that I can't see him outside of a wide receiver 1, and I think he's got top 6 potential. And if Tom Brady's still slinging it like he can, I think Mike Evans is going to be the biggest beneficiary. And no more Brown, no more Gronk, and Godwin's hurt for at least a couple of weeks, most likely.
Yeah, I like Evans a lot. Yep. My next guy here is Rashod Bateman, who is going to be the Ravens' clear number 1 option. I already talked about how much I love Lamar, and I think Bateman is going to be his main target with Mark Andrews there. Last year I was shocked when I looked at it, but because Hollywood Brown had always been so disappointing for the Ravens' first few years, but last year he put up over 90 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And Bateman also had a solid target share as well. So, and Bateman was coming off an injury. He wasn't fully healthy until like midway through the season. So with a fully healthy Bateman, him assuming Hollywood's former role with him gone, and I think Bateman has the potential to be better than Hollywood Brown as well. So for all those factors, I think he's going to be performing, outperforming his ADP for sure. Another guy that I'm targeting kind of in that, 5th to 6th round if he's there, which he usually is, and I'm happy to take him.
Yeah, for sure. Stack him with Lamar. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. My next wide receiver is actually 2 wide receivers. It's Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. So I really love this Broncos offense, especially now that Russell Wilson's there. Wilson has supported 2 receivers for a long time in Lockett and Metcalf, and I think it's going to be pretty similar with Jeudy and Sutton. Now, obviously, you don't want to take both of them. You could. I don't think you should. But I think you should get shares of each of them in like different leagues if you're in multiple, or just take your shot on the guy you think is going to excel. I think it's going to be Sutton, but I think a lot of people think it's going to be Sutton, and his ADP is rising right now. So I'm actually more in on Jeudy now, just because if you can get him cheaper, take the cheaper guy. You never know what's going to happen. It's kind of like last year. There were some murky wide receiver rooms. One was the Rams. You didn't know if you want to take Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. Some people went Woods, some people went Cup,
I went Woods.
and everybody else excelled.
Yeah.
It's just like you don't really know what's going to happen. They're kind of going similar ADPs.
It was same thing with Debo and Ayuk last year, even, which is
Yeah.
hard for people to believe. But people didn't know who was going to be the number one. I mean,
I didn't. I remember I asked your advice.
Yeah.
And Ayuk was going 2 rounds ahead of Debo. And I took Debo.
I did say go the cheaper route, right?
And look what he did.
Yeah.
You just kind of either call your shot or take the cheaper guy. And right now, well, actually, according to Fantasy Pros, Sutton's actually cheaper right now by 3 spots.
Really?
So not a whole lot of difference, but
And that's in half PPR though, right?
Half PPR, yeah.
I want to say in PPR one I saw, I think Sutton was like a little bit higher. I don't know if
I can look right now. Sutton is 25th in PPR. Jerry Jeudy's 27th, so still within 3 spots.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And you got one more?
I got one more.
All right.
Gabe Davis for the Buffalo Bills.
Love him.
Now, I was kind of slow to jump on this bandwagon. Everybody was putting Gabe Davis as their sleeper, going to be a breakout candidate. I was like, well, I don't know about it. He did come out at the end of last year. But when I ran some projections, I really broke it down. And, man, I see it. It's first of all, you're in the Buffalo Bills offense, which is weird still for me to say. But, it's just like it's arguably the best offense in the NFL. I think they're the Super Bowl favorites per Vegas. You've got Josh Allen throwing to you. And I think he's essentially in that clear number 2 role now behind Diggs.
Yep.
Emmanuel Sanders, his targets are gone. Cole Beasley is gone. Obviously, they signed Jamison Crowder. But, if we're talking about, Chase and Higgins as 2 top 14 guys, if we're talking about Hill and Waddle as 2 top 20-ish guys, and then the Bills have the number 1 offense. I know Josh Allen runs, but there's plenty to go around for Gabe Davis, who I think showed that he's capable of performing as well. So I have him way higher than ADP. So he's my other supernova here that I think is a good bet to explode. Again, I wouldn't call Gabe Davis as being like a top 5 guy. But I think he could be a clear wide receiver 2 when the season's over.
Yeah, I can totally see that happening. My only gripe with him now is because everyone believes in him. He's actually, I believe, on Underdog and Best Ball, he's going the 4th round, which is insane. I think that's a little too steep for me. But if he hits, you got him. So
I know. I have him ranked as my 21st ranked wide receiver. ADP that based off PPR on Fantasy Pros was 31. So I had him like 10 spots higher. But yeah, if the more people talk about him, the more his ADP is going to rise. And then,
Yep. And that's just what's happening. Yeah. Unfortunately.
So.
All right. Let's pivot here to tight ends. My guy is Dalton Schultz. If you've seen any of these other videos, you probably heard me talk about him. I love Schultz this year. He's going as the tight end 7 right now, 66 overall. The vacated targets from Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson in the Cowboys offense. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I know it's a lot. You might have it.
Yeah. Keep talking. I'll bring it up.
Yeah. I just think behind CeeDee Lamb, I think Schultz is going to be Dak's second option. I know they got like James Washington and they drafted Tolbert. I just think Schultz, even if you're just going pure volume, I think he's going to be at least a tight end top 6. And I think I have him. Well, I got him as my tight end 3. So
yeah,
it's a little bullish, but
Cowboys have 205 vacated targets. 44% of their targets inside the 10-yard line have been vacated.
And that's hopefully goes all to Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite thing is if you're at a turn, like I'm drafting first in one of our dynasty leagues, I take Schultz and Hurts, and I'm just so happy sitting there with like a completed starter, like a starting roster right there.
You're talking like 6-7 turn?
Yeah, 6-7 turn, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
just think after Schultz, it drops off quite a bit in tight ends.
Yeah.
You can make an argument for a couple guys maybe, but my tiers, it drops off right there.
Okay. I've got like 6 guys I'm comfortable with, I would say, at the tight end spot there.
Mm-hmm.
My guy is Kyle Pitts that I'm all over. You know, there's just so much opportunity in that Atlanta Falcons offense. Like, I don't think the offense is going to be that great on its own, but someone's got to catch the balls.
Mm-hmm.
He had 1 touchdown last year, which is just such an anomaly. That's just not going to happen again. Kyle Pitts just watching him play. He's just a freak at the tight end. He's like a wide receiver playing
Oh yeah.
tight end. So I think there's just like he's just bound to break out. I mean, if you look at last year's performance from just the top tight ends last year, like from a yardage standpoint, like Mark Andrews had 1,300, Kelsey had 1,100, then Schultz had like 800, Kittle had 900, Ertz had like 700, and then Kyle Pitts had over 1,000 receiving yards, only 1 touchdown. He had 110 targets, and there's no Ridley. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunity there where I see Pitts eating a lot of that up, to be honest. And I could see him getting over 80 receptions. I mean, I could see him getting 1,200 yards in my projection. And if he can get his touchdowns to where those top echelon guys are, I mean, again, kind of like your Schultz comment, I could see him being top 3 finishing the year. So, I mean, again, and his ADP kind of fluctuates. Sometimes he goes a little higher than I want to take him, but
In
I'm
half
targeting
PPR,
him.
he's the 3rd tight end and 36th overall.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess that's fair. I mean, that's kind of where I see him. But like in our dynasty league, there, I'm hoping
He's going like around the 1-2 turn.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I hope you get him there.
I'll take him.
I know you will. All right, that's gonna be our list. Just to recap, my quarterback was Jalen Hurts. My running backs were Travis Etienne and AJ Dillon. Receivers were Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Jerry Jeudy, and Cortland Sutton, and my tight end was Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I had Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Darnell Mooney, Rashod Bateman, Gabriel Davis, and Kyle Pitts.
Solid list.
All these guys are going to explode.
Yeah.
You know it.
Mark our words.
Yes.
All right. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for coming out. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed any of it. We're going to keep churning out some content here soon. So until then, see ya. Have a good one.